And welcome to the Saints off-season video as we are wrapping up Season 2 and heading on into Season 3 of the New Orleans Saints franchise, as we have come against another playoff loss to the Atlanta Falcons. So Season 3 is pretty much the main storyline, is redemption against the Atlanta Falcons. Hopefully we can get that done. But let's go through the offseason first. As far as the stats went, Teddy Bridgewater in the passing game had 2,872 yards with a 60% completion percentage and a 19 touchdowns, 17 interceptions with 4 rushing touchdowns as well. Not the best season. That's just a mix of my sliders plus me not being the best at using a quarterback in Madden. It's never been my thing. I've been more of a run game always. That's just, I don't know. That's just what I do. I've never been a huge passing game guy, and it's one of those things where it's, even if I replace Teddy with some 90 overall quarterback, it's not going to do anything because it's just me not being the best quarterback. And then in the run game, we've got Alvin Kamara, who had 227 carries for 1,126 yards, 10 touchdowns. He did fumble 6 times, but as I'm sure you guys noticed, there was a lot of those fumbles in the last 3 weeks of the regular season. For whatever reason, I've had the same sliders all season long, plus Season 1. And there was no fumble issues Season 1, no fumble issues Week 1 through Week 15 of this, or Week 14 of Season 2, and then Week 15, 16, and 17, it was just fumbles galore. Every time I touched the ball, it was a fumble. I don't know if Madden put out some patch or some tuner that just made fumbles happen more often during that period, but I have adjusted the sliders a bit for this upcoming Season 3 to account for that. Mark Ingram had 141 carries, 671 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And then in the receiving game, it was led by Michael Thomas, who had 40 receptions, 794 yards with 3 touchdowns. And then the touchdown leader in the receiving game was Brandon Coleman, the Rutgers product, 30 catches, 694 yards, and 8 touchdowns. As far as the rest of the receivers go, just a bunch of guys who are pretty all evenly spread out with around the same yardage. That was highlighted by Tavon Austin's 2 touchdowns and Kobe Fleener's 3 touchdowns. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you had the tackles leader Anthony Walker, who only had 68 total tackles. I think it's just because I don't play on 15-minute quarters, or it's because I switch in a lot of different linebackers. I use every single linebacker on my roster, so there's never a one linebacker who's on the field for every play. So I just get a lot of mixed tackles throughout the linebacker position. But Anthony Walker did lead the team with 68 tackles, 10 for loss, 1 sack, and 2 INTs as well. Marcus Williams had 60 tackles with 4 picks. Kenny Vaccaro, 57 tackles, 1 sack, and 3 interceptions. Cameron Jordan led the team in sacks with 10.5. Definitely a down year for him, looking to rebound heading into Season 3. And then in the secondary, Marcus Lattimore, 47 tackles, led the team with 6 interceptions, also had 5 deflections. And then Ken Crawley, 57 tackles, only had 1 pick, but he had 9 deflections as the number 2 corner on this Saints team. And now if we take a look at the Pro Bowl, we only had 4 Pro Bowlers. None of them really were at any key positions. The most key position was probably the lineman, as Andrus Peat was the left guard number 2 on the NFC side, and then Larry Warford was right guard number 1 on the NFC side, and then of course our punter, Thomas Morstead, made the Pro Bowl, and then our punt returner, Ted Ginn Jr., made the Pro Bowl as well. As far as how the Super Bowl went, the Philadelphia Eagles took on the New England Patriots just like in real life, except this was 1 year after in real life. And the Eagles did not win a nail-biter. They absolutely spanked Tom Brady and the New England Patriots 45-14. Carson Wentz threw all over the field, and the Eagles come out on top, winning their first Super Bowl 1 year later than they did in real life in this virtual world. And Tom Brady actually won MVP in this season, but he also retired. So Tom Brady wins MVP, loses in the Super Bowl, and then calls it quits. That'd be a pretty insane way to end it in real life. I doubt that's how he would actually go out, but that is how he's going out in this virtual world. And then we ourselves, the Saints, had 3 retirees as well. Fullback John Kuhn, we have to replace him now. Wide receiver Ted Ginn Jr., we have to get a new kick returner and punt returner. And then offensive tackle, who was a backup on our team, Zach Strife, one of those 2 pronunciations, has also retired. As far as the re-signs go, the main guys that we've re-signed are Martinez Owens, who was a draft pick of ours in the Season 1 offseason out of Penn State. He spent majority of the year on the practice squad, but then a couple injuries happened, so he ended up playing towards the end of the season. He's been re-signed to 2 years, $3.62 million over those 2 years. EJ Manuel also re-signed to 2 years. He's getting $3.8 per year, plus a $1.65 signing bonus. I like to have a decent backup, a guy who I can trust to step in there and take over if my quarterback does go down like it happened in last season. And I was pretty impressed with how EJ Manuel played, how he performed in the playoffs. So we rewarded him with a 2-year contract to continue being Bridgewater's backup, who I pretty much spent all of Bridgewater's points, or his experience points, into the injury category, or the injury attribute, so hopefully he does not get injured in the future. Adrian Patrick, another rookie this was actually an undrafted rookie we signed. He is now brought back for 2 years, $6.5 million over those 2 years. He's a pretty good cornerback with some pretty good stats. Could possibly get some playing time in the future. Waller, the tight end, also has been brought back 2 years, $5.2 million. He's our number 2 tight end now that Josh Hill is being let go, as we'll get into a bit later on. So Waller is right behind Kobe Fleener. And then as far as the guys we let go that is Mark Ingram. He is not going to be re-signed. I just did not want to give him as much money, being how old he's going to be. He's going to be on the wrong side of 30. I don't want to give a running back that much money when it's pretty easy to find a replacement running back. Plus, we have Kamara to handle the majority of the load. Josh Hill, our backup tight end, also being let walk. Sebastian Vollmer, he was signed in the offseason last year just to be a backup offensive tackle. He played a few games. He played fine. He's being let walk, though. He is definitely pretty old. I don't think we're going to have too much trouble replacing him. Manti Te'o, outside linebacker, also being let walk. Never really had too much of an impact on the team. Tyler Davison, a defensive tackle. We have so many good defensive tackles. There are a bunch of people waiting to step in for him. CJ Prosise, he was just a depth running back after the Season 1 where everybody got hurt and he was our number 1. So Prosise, we didn't really have a need for him. And we're going to replace running back in the draft and then also free agency. So Prosise was let walk. Kihaka, defensive end. Once again, we have guys stepping in to take over for that position. And then Tavon Austin didn't really impress me too much, so he was let walk as well. And now taking a look at who we added in the free agency period. The first thing we did was we replaced our fullback with another Rutgers product in Michael Burton. A Rutgers fullback, 1 year, $870,000 over that 1 year. He is our new fullback. Lorenzo Taliaferro, something like that. I'm going to get the pronunciation down by the time the actual games start. He was signed to a 1 year, $1.87 million. Free agency, of course, comes before the draft, so I didn't know what we would get in the draft. I do have a plan to go into free agency to replace a running back, to get a power back, to get a number 2 for Kamara, but in case we didn't, I wanted to get a power back in free agency who wasn't too expensive. Taliaferro fit that mold, so we signed him to a 1 year deal. And even if we do get a number 2, he's a guy who can get in there in short yardage situations, and he's just a decent depth guy to have anyways. Offensive tackle, he's going to be a backup on our team, Jacoby Dobson. Not Jacoby, Jacolby. 2 years, $3.74 million. He is been signed to the Saints. Chris Hogan, a receiver, is leaving the Patriots. The Monmouth University legend and also former Penn State lacrosse player Chris Hogan is being brought to the Saints. On our already stacked receiving core, a pretty even receiving core, a lot of options in that receiving core, but like I said, we did lose Tavon Austin and we did lose Ted Ginn. So Hogan's being brought onto that team now to be with Michael Thomas, Brandon Coleman, and Willie Snead. And then we also signed an outside linebacker, or he's a middle linebacker, former converted safety, now middle linebacker. We're moving him to outside linebacker, Mark Barron, as a guy who's going to play a lot in the 4-3, and he's also going to play a lot in the nickel and the dime because he is quick, he is a converted safety, and he's got great coverage stats, so that's the type of guy that I like to have in the nickel and dime sets. So Mark Barron is being brought for 3 years, $5.85 million. So moving on to the NFL Draft. In the first round, we took a running back in Ronnie Toefield out of Wisconsin, the next great Wisconsin running back, superstar development, absolute monster of a power back, exactly what we needed to replace Mark Ingram. Kamara now has a 1-2 punch with him. We've got Kamara, the speed guy, and we've got Ronnie Toefield now, the guy who will absolutely run through everybody. And then in the second round, we took a wide receiver, despite having an already stacked receiving core. I didn't really see anything else I wanted in this spot where we were drafting, so I took a wide receiver, Francis Lavallee, who is a wide receiver out of Wyoming. Quick dev, he's not the fastest guy, he's a possession receiver, but he has a lot of great like possession stats, like catching, route running, stuff like that. He has a lot of good receiving stats. He's just not the quickest of guys, and we should be able to work with that anyways. So Francis Lavallee is our second round pick. Third round, we had 2 picks because we traded one of ours last year and got another third round pick. So first one we traded to Washington in return for a second round pick and a fourth round pick in next year's draft. And then we also, our other third round pick, we took De'Adrian Can, a cornerback out of Arizona. And then in the fourth round, we took Wendell Smith, another cornerback out of East Carolina. And now moving on to the fifth round, we took Carter Rutland, an offensive guard out of Florida State, who is actually going to make the team. He is going to be our backup right guard. And then in the sixth round, we took Griffin Armstrong, a 3-4 outside linebacker, who we are, of course, moving to the 4-3 D-end position as a speed rusher. He's going to be on the practice squad to start out, but he could possibly work his way onto the squad, as if somebody gets injured, he's the first guy to get called up from the practice squad at the D-end position. Or even DT position, because if somebody gets injured at DT, Martinez Owens is going to be playing DT, and then this guy will get called up to play D-end. So that's where Griffin Armstrong stands on this team. 3-4 outside linebacker, 4-3 D-end out of Boise State. In the seventh round, it was pretty much just a waste pick. I didn't know who to take. We didn't have anybody scattered. I just drafted somebody random. Marquise Whitaker, running back. I didn't even look at what college he's from. He's not even making the team. He's not even on the practice squad. He's just not even a thing. And now before we wrap up this off-season video, I do want to get into something that has been commented about a couple times throughout the season, and that is that I should improve my offensive line, and that is, it's difficult to improve the offensive line past what it's already at. As I'm sure you guys noticed, Teddy and Manuel do get sacked a lot. The offensive line doesn't run block well a lot of the times, and that's just because Madden is Madden. You can mess with the sliders as much as you want. I tweak them, I look at the sliders, I do stuff like that, and it's just, no matter what you do, Madden's going to be Madden, and there's just going to be some things that are just complete bullshit, and they're just going to get cheesed over you, especially on all Madden. I can't really improve my offensive line. Like at left tackle, we've got Teron Armstead. He's got a 90 pass block, 82 run block, 88 impact block. At left guard, we've got Andres Pete, 87 run block, 84 pass block, 85 impact block. At center, we've got Druckenmiller, who was our first round pick last year, 87 pass and run block, and then a 91 impact block. Right guard, Larry Warford, 86 run block, 85 pass block, 85 impact block. Right tackle, Ryan Ramczyk, 90 run block, 91 pass block, 89 impact block. It's kind of hard to improve upon what I already have, so I can do some tweaking with the blocking sliders, but all Madden's going to be all Madden, and if the game just decides that they want their 72 overall D-end to just sprint past your offensive line like they're Swiss cheese, then the game is going to do that because Madden is Madden, and it's complete bullshit at times. Even our backups, Lorenzo Newton and Jacoby Dolson at the tackle positions, and then we've got Max Turk and Carter Rutland at the offensive guard positions, and then Max Unger as the backup center. Those guys are all capable backups at those positions as well, but like I said, Madden's going to be Madden. I'm going to do some tweaking with the blocking stats, or the blocking sliders, and also the fumble sliders, so things are a bit more even heading into Season 3 of this Saints franchise. And with that being said, that is going to wrap things up here for this off-season video. So, the off-season wrapped up. I simmed through the preseason, so we are going to be heading into Week 1 of the regular season against the Indianapolis Colts to kick things off. I've been your host, Jerseyborn, and I'm saying goodbye.